Hello, Year 2. Welcome back. This is our week 5, so our last week of this term, and we're looking at the countries involved in the Crimean War. This is lesson 1, so let's get straight into it. Pencil and paper. So our starter activity. So today's mini task will be, can you name all of the continents? And I know you can do this because we've learned the song. Okay, so think back to that song that we've learned, all right? I'm going to put it in the description for you to listen to after this video if you want, if you can't remember. But otherwise, I think we know the song, okay? So that's your mini task. Name all of those consonants. You can write it down on top of your piece of paper if you want, and you can write them, if you can, in the order of biggest to smallest, okay? Okay, so the ones that you should have got, and this is in order from biggest to smallest, you should have got Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Antarctica, Europe, and then Australia. They should have been your 7 continents that you should have got. Well done if you managed to get all of them right. If you're not quite sure, check out that song in the description. You can learn the song again. Okay, so today's task, we're going to investigate those countries that were involved in the Crimean War. So the first country that we're looking at is the Russian Empire. Now, you'll know it today as Russia, and you might notice the flag looks a little different. You've got this yellow and a coat of arms in the top left corner. That was to show the Russian Empire. Slightly different to Russia, but it was a part of the empire which was growing out, which meant that the land that they've got now was probably a little bit smaller than the Russian Empire. The Russian Empire was very big, and it meant that they would take a few countries that are now known as other names. So we've got the Russian Empire. Then we've also got some other countries. We've got the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. Now you're thinking, I know that flag. That's where we live. We live in the United Kingdom, and you might know it as Great Britain. Now, the difference is, in 1850, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, in 1850, Ireland was actually part of the United Kingdom. Northern Ireland wasn't. The island itself was. So it would be a sovereign state, which meant it would be the United Kingdom of Great Britain, and you've got Ireland as well. And that was until 1922, when Ireland said that they wanted to be separate, they wanted to be their own country. And then we adopted in Northern Ireland. So now Great Britain is those 4 countries, but it's actually not Ireland. Ireland is now separate. However, in this case, Ireland was part of Great Britain. Then we've got the French Empire. Now, the only thing you might be noticing different about this one is you might have seen the French flag. You think that blue, actually, that blue is a lot lighter on the French flag. You might have noticed, you might not, that's okay. Well, the French Empire actually had the same flag, but they had a slightly darker blue, and it changed to a lighter blue over the years. But that's the only change for that. Then what you have is you've got the Sardinian Kingdom. Now, you might not have heard of this country, but what it was is it's called Sardinia. It's very low down on a map. We'll have a look in a moment, and it's near Italy. And then you've got the Ottoman Empire. And you might notice that flag, it looks very similar to Turkey's. That's because the Ottoman Empire was a part of Turkey, and then it branched out into the other countries. Now I've put a line down the middle. Well, why would I split up 1, 2, 3, 4 countries on one side, and I've got 4 countries or empires on one side, and I've got one on the other side, Russia on its own, and the other 4 on that side, and then Russia on its own. So I'm a bit confused. Why would I do that? Have a think. If you're thinking they might be teams, you'd be absolutely right. On this left-hand side here, we've got 4 countries here. We're a team, really. They were called the Allies. And then on the other side, we've got the Russian Empire. You wouldn't think this would be very fair, would you? If you're looking at this, you've got 4 against 1. That doesn't seem very fair. Well, let's have a look on the map. If we look on the map now, you can see we've got Great Britain and Ireland in red over here. We've got France in blue. That's the French Empire there. We've got Sardinia, this very tiny country right at the bottom down here. And then we've got the Ottoman Empire in green. Now, if you can see, the Russian Empire is this huge purple thing. So now we can start to understand that the 1 against 4, well, actually, the amount of people that were a part of the Russian Empire. They've got a lot bigger land. And you can see that the other countries, when put together, they might just about make the same size as Russia in land. But actually, Russia's a huge, huge country here in the Russian Empire. So we've got to think, maybe it is a little bit even now. You've got 4 against 1, but actually with the amount of land that's involved, maybe it's a little bit even. Now, why were they wanting to be at war? Well, there was a lot of different reasons, but one of the main reasons was the Russian Empire said that they wanted this land down here, and this was the Holy Land. Now, there was a part in the Ottoman Empire that was seen as the Holy Land, okay? And the Russian Empire was a very Christian dominant empire, which meant that they wanted to be as close to God as possible, so they wanted that Holy Land. Now, the Ottoman Empire said that no, that land belongs to us. That's our land. You're not allowed it. And Great Britain, France, and Sardinia agreed with Ottoman, and they said, yes, actually, that's not very fair. That belongs to the Ottoman Empire. And at the minute, look at how big your country is already. That's not very fair if you have more. So what actually happened was Russia said, no, we're going to take it. And the other countries say, no, we're going to stop you. You're not allowed it. And then, as you can see in this orange circle here, we've got the Crimea, and this is where the war was mainly based. Because this circle of white here, this is the Black Sea, and that's where a lot of the naval battles took. So a lot of the battles on the boats, and that was their only way that they'd realistically get down to the Holy Land down here, because you'd have to go through the gap in the Black Sea going down through this way. But you wouldn't be able to do that unless you went through the Ottoman Empire. So they were stopping them from doing that. And a lot of the battles then took place in the Crimea. Now, it was a deadly war for all sides. So you've got the Russian Empire. Now, the Russian Empire, we said it was this purple over here. They had 889,000 soldiers. So many soldiers. Now, thinking about this, there's the Great Britain and Ireland, there's the French Empire, there's the Sardinian Kingdom, and there's the Ottoman Empire. Do you think they had more or less than Russia, the Russian Empire? Do you think they had more or less? Remember, it's 1 versus 4. Do you think the 4 had more? Or I'm not sure. What do you think? Pause the video, maybe have a bit of a discussion of why. Well, if you'd said, well, there's 4 of them, they must have had more because they've got 4 countries, so they must have had lots of soldiers. You wouldn't have actually been right, because the Allies only had 603,132. So you can see here that even though there's 4 countries combined, they had 200,000 less soldiers. So it was going to be a really difficult war. The Russian Empire said that they really wanted this land, and the Allies said that they didn't want them to have it. So now it was a war. The soldiers would have to battle to see who was the strongest of the 2 sides, and who would come out on top of winning over that Holy Land that they wanted. So let's think about the deaths in the war. You've got so many people, and unfortunately, with so many soldiers, you're going to have a lot of deaths because there's fighting on both sides. So Britain lost 22,182 of their soldiers that had died. The French Empire lost 95,615. The Ottoman Empire lost 45,400 soldiers, and the Kingdom of Sardinia lost 2,166. These are all the soldiers that died for the Allies. Now, the Russian Empire had the bigger amount of soldiers. They had more soldiers, but actually, despite them having a bigger force, it was Russia's soldiers that suffered the greatest casualties, which means that the ones that they'd got the most deaths. The Russian Empire had lost 450,125 casualties, which means over half of the soldiers that they had sent in had actually died. And that's because of all this fighting. Now, I know one of the things that we might be thinking is that because of the war, there was lots of shooting and there's lots of other things going on. That must be how they died, in combat. Well, actually, it's not quite true. The majority of the deaths were not because of combat, but they were because of disease. 2,755 of the British force had died out of 22,182, but 17,580 of those soldiers died because of disease. They weren't dying because they were getting shot and dying in action. They were actually dying because they were getting infected with horrible diseases and they weren't strong enough to beat them. And unfortunately, there wasn't enough medicine, or there wasn't any medicine that would help cure some of these diseases, which means there was nothing that they could do. And this is why it was so important when Florence Nightingale came involved, because she understood that if it wasn't clean, then more of the British soldiers were going to die, and more of the Allied soldiers were going to die because it wasn't clean and they were getting infected with these diseases. So your task today, we've got lots of facts, lots of geography knowledge that I've given you today. So I'd like you to make a bit of a poster now, and we're looking at Russia and the Allies. So you can maybe split your piece of paper in half, and you have Russia on one side and the Allies on the other. And I'd like you to think about some of the facts. So you could have the flags on one side and the other, bearing in mind some of the flags might be a bit different to what you know the country is today. So if you know that Russia's flag, what the colours are, you might need to go back in the video and remember that it's actually got another extra bit in the corner because it was the Russian Empire, not Russia, slightly different. And you could even have on one side what you've learned about the Allies and some of the facts, and then on the other side you've got the Russian Empire and some of those facts. And you could do it a bit of verses if you want. So I've given you a bit of an example there, and it'd be like one side versus the other side. And you can tell me about those facts. If you want to really challenge yourself, you could tell me about why the war actually started. And I've given you one of the reasons why it might have started, what people in the historians have said. They think it might have started over this reason. So you could maybe challenge yourself to write that down on the bottom of your sheet. I look forward to seeing all the tapestry submissions. Thank you very much, and see you in the next lesson. Goodbye, you two.